Today's story is about Isaac, the promised son of Sarah and Abraham. Many years had gone by since he'd been born, and Sarah and Abraham loved Isaac very, very much, and he was a strong young man when one morning his father woke him up very early. Already his father had saddled a donkey and had 2 servants with him. The first thing they did is they went off and got some wood. Isaac's father had said to him that they were going to make a sacrifice and that God had told him to go and make the sacrifice over in the mountains of Moriah. Isaac totally went with and agreed with this because over the years he had gone many times with his father to make sacrifices. Usually they'd taken a lamb with them. On this occasion, they had a journey of 3 days to make. And during the 3 days, there wasn't much really said about the sacrifice. And they walked on until finally they came to the spot. And with that, he said to the servants, "Now you 2 servants stay here. Isaac and I will go up the mountain and make the sacrifice, and we will be back." Abraham took the wood off the donkey and strapped it to Isaac's shoulders. On the way to the spot, Isaac was looking round, and he'd been wondering for a little while, and finally he said, "Dad, where's the lamb for the sacrifice?" And Abraham, his father, said, "Don't you worry about that. God will provide." So Isaac didn't worry about it, and he went on up with his father. His father then very carefully made a special place for the sacrifice. Isaac felt he was so focused that he didn't really engage in conversation with them very much. It seemed like he just had to do this and had to do it really carefully. And when he took the wood from Isaac's shoulders, he so carefully placed them, like in a very precise order. And then Isaac's dad said to him, "Actually, Isaac, you are the sacrifice. God has told me to sacrifice you." And Isaac was a little bit taken back by this because he didn't think that was how it was going to pan out. But Isaac didn't complain. He so loved and trusted his father so much. He stood still while Abraham got a rope and wound it round and round Isaac and bound him up, and then lifted him and placed him on the wood that he had prepared. Around Abraham's belt he had the knife, so he pulled the knife out, ready to cut the throat of Isaac, and all of a sudden there was a voice from heaven that told Abraham to stop, to not go ahead with it. Through this angel, God told Abraham that he knew now that he loved God more than his own son. And with that, Abraham looked up and he saw a ram stuck in the thicket. He quickly cut the rope off Isaac, and they went and got the ram, and they cut the throat of the ram, put it on the altar, and burnt it sacrifice to God. In the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, where we're reading about these heroes of faith, this is what is written about this incident. By faith, Abraham, when God tested him, offered Isaac as a sacrifice. He who had received the promises was about to sacrifice his one and only son, even though God had said to him, "It is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned." Abraham reasoned that God could raise the dead, and figuratively speaking, he did receive Isaac back from death. This is a wonderful example for us of what happened later on with Jesus. It shows us how Abraham travelled for those 3 days before he went to sacrifice Isaac. In Abraham's mind, Isaac was dead from the moment he was told to go and sacrifice him, because in his heart and in his mind he had already put Isaac to death. And so the travelling for the 3 days was like Isaac was in the grave for those 3 days. And then at the end, the only way that Abraham could think possibly that the promises that God had said would come about was if God raised Isaac back from the dead. And that's exactly what happened. What amazing faith Abraham had. And so Jesus knew this story, and he knew it was an example of how God was asking him to go to the cross. And when he died on that cross, he was 3 days in the ground in death before he was raised back to life, just like the story of Isaac. And so we know that Isaac was raised back to life, even though it was figuratively speaking. Jesus was absolutely and definitely raised back to life. And now we can have faith and trust that God will raise us back to life. In 2 Corinthians 4:14 it says, "We know that the one who raised the Lord Jesus from the dead will also raise us." So we know that if we believe that Jesus died on the cross for us and that he rose again on the 3rd day, that we too will be raised to life. What a wonderful thing God and Jesus has done for us. Happy Easter. And a little quiz to follow.